Hello and welcome to episode 30 of the Victorian Studio Podcast. My name is Maureen and I'm coming to you as always from Winnipeg, Manitoba, Canada, and today is Sunday, January the 17th, 2016. Welcome to all the viewers who have checked out my podcast before. Thank you for coming back. I know there are so many podcasts that are available to watch. I'm privileged that you've chosen to spend some time with me. And welcome to anybody who hasn't viewed my first videos before. I hope you enjoy your visit in my studio with me today. I'll be sharing some knitting, some spinning, and some dyeing, as well as a few little goodies that have come in the mail recently. So the last few weeks it's been great to, because it's cold outside, it's been a great time to get some crafting done. And last weekend I finally got an opportunity to start my dyeing experiments with dyeing yarn. So I'll share that with you a little bit later as well. But a lot of fun to do that last weekend. Because I was doing a bunch of crafting last weekend and didn't have any plans to go out at all, the car was sitting in the driveway all weekend and it plummeted to about minus 40 at night with the wind chill for Saturday and Sunday last weekend. So of course Monday, when I went to warm up my car to go to work Monday morning, it was dead. Now Northern Americans and Canadians will know, and maybe people who live in the northern European countries, that we have block heaters in our cars. With the severe cold temperatures, you really need something to keep your engine at least at a point where it will start again when it's minus 40 out. So on Monday, at first I thought it was my battery that had gone. My car is only about 5 years old, so it's fairly new, but still has its original battery. So I thought, well, maybe the battery had gone. So we tried putting it on a portable battery charger that we have here at home. And even after a few hours on there, it just wouldn't start. So I ended up calling CAA, thank goodness I'm a member, and I knew it would be a few hours before they came. And so I ended up having to take a vacation day from work. It's not the kind of vacation day I like taking. I like to sleep in on my vacation days. But I was already up at like 5 o'clock in the morning, all dressed and ready to go to work, and it was a no-go. So trying the car every once in a while, getting it on the battery charger, arranging for the boost from CAA. You would have thought, being home I would have gotten some knitting done, but I really didn't. It was kind of such a weird day. I really wasn't relaxed enough to get too much knitting done, unfortunately. But finally at about 2 o'clock, CAA came and boosted me, and I got the car running again. Took it out for a good run, and it did start the next morning. But when I went into work the next morning, I noticed when I plugged it in at the parkade, usually if you have a connection that's secure, the light on the plug at work will light solid. It won't flash, and this was flashing no matter what cord I was using. So I knew it wasn't the battery, it was in fact the block heater. That's what you plug in when you plug in your cars, is the block heater. So I called up my Mitsubishi dealer where I always take it in, and they were kind enough to give me an appointment the next day. So I was able to take it in, but of course then again I had to take another half-day vacation. Luckily I had a few vacation days left over in my allotment this year for the new year. I was hoping to take every couple of Mondays off again in the, when it's really cold. But I had to take another half-day vacation to take it in to get serviced. So needless to say, it was long couple of days, but at least the car is running now. And of course when you take it in to the dealers and the service departments, they always find more wrong, that should be fixed. So I didn't get everything done that they recommended, but at least I got a new block heater, everything got repaired that I need to get it running, at least for the winter, and the rest of it I'll take care of at a later date. But at least it was $700 just to get that done. So what I did get done. So that wasn't fun, but it's comes with having a car. It's either car payments or once you're finished with your payments, the car is older and it's car servicing. So that's the point I'm at now. So yeah, at least I was back at work, and the rest of the week went fine. But needless to say, I didn't get a whole lot of knitting done in the last few weeks because I was doing a few other things as well. But at least I'll be able to share with you what I did get done. Oh, and also at the end of this episode, I'll show you a little bit of video that I took. It was a few weeks ago that I took some video of our snow falling and a little visitor that we had in our yard. So I'll save that for the end of the video as well. So at least once I got the car back and that was off my mind, I was able to relax a little more and get some knitting done. What I did do the most on were my Christmas Eve cast-on socks. Now, if you're familiar with Danny at Little Bobbins Knits, you know that there's hundreds of people who participated in her Christmas Eve cast-on, and that's where we all just cast on a pair of socks, and the speediest of us have gotten them well done by now. For me, I take a little bit longer getting my socks done. This is my second year participating in her Christmas Eve cast-on. I did it last year. It was her first year doing it. And it was only the second pair of socks I'd cast on at the time. So it took me about 6 months to get that first Christmas Eve cast-on socks done. This year, I'm a lot better. I've been able to at least take this project to work and work on it during lunch hours. I took it to the service department when I was waiting for the car, even though the shuttle brought me back home because it was a few hours, most of the day that they were working on my car, or most of the afternoon at least. When the shuttle brought me back, they were still working on it, and then they clean it up for you and everything. So while I was waiting for it, I pulled out my socks, and we're working on them in the waiting area of the service area. And there was another couple there, an older couple, and wife and husband, and it was funny because they were both watching me, and I could see out of the corner of my eye that they were watching me. And the husband was most interested, but they didn't say a word to me. But he actually moved so that he was sitting behind me, and I could see that he was intent on watching exactly what I was doing. So I thought that was really funny. And the other thing I thought was funny is the lady that takes care of the appointments, to see that you're called at the right time and that kind of thing. I've met her before. She came into the waiting area and she was checking everybody's names to let them know, how much longer their car would be. So they were checking, that person, and she didn't bother even asking me. And I kind of looked up and she goes, "Oh, Maureen, I know who you are." She remembered me from last year when I was sitting in there knitting on my scarf that I was making for my daughter. So that was really quite funny. I guess when you knit in public, not only do you get recognized, but they remember who you are. So I thought that was pretty funny. So let's see, this is the project that I'm keeping in my Silver Shed bag by Anne Brodie. This is the one that she made me with my custom fabric that I made from my cranberry drawing. So, because it was Christmas Eve cast on, I can still use my Christmas bag. These are just vanilla socks that I'm doing this year. Last year, like I say, I was kind of silly choosing such a complex pattern for my socks. This year I decided I'm just going to do some vanilla socks, and I cast on 64 stitches. Now I'm using US 1.5s or 2.5 millimeter needles for this project, and I'm doing these out of the West Yorkshire Spinners Hollyberry colorway. This is their new Christmas themed colorway for this year. And what I did was I split the skein into 2 equal balls that were started at the same point, so that hopefully my socks will be as matchy as I can get them. So this is BFL, 75% wool, 25% nylon, and I'm doing them 2 at a time on my carbons. And of course I'm using Danny's needle cozies to hold my needles, the foxes, and a little Red Riding Hood themed cozy. and also some of her stitch markers as well on one of the sets of needles that she added with the order of DPN holders. She put in a stitch marker with every one of them. So as I said, I am making these 2 at a time on separate needles, and I've gotten to the gusset. So I've gotten quite a bit done. I'm doing these top down. I just did a 2x2 rib, and now it's just plain stockinette. And I do usually 70 rows. What's nice was I just counted for one, and then I just knit the other one until I was at the same point on the wool, and I knew that they were matching. And then the heel is just a regular slip stitch heel turn, and now I'm doing the gusset. So they're just going to be all the self-striping sock yarn, but I think the next pair of socks I'd like to try doing is a contrasting cuff, heel, and toe. And now that I'm dyeing yarn and I've got some fingering weight, sock yarn, I'm going to try to dye up my own yarn to make the contrasting colors that I need for some of my self-striping sock yarn that I have. So that will be, I think, the next pair that I'll try that out. So far, like I say, these are really coming along quickly. All I have left to do is basically the gusset and the foot, and Kitchener the toes as usual. But I just love working on this West Yorkshire Spinners yarn for socks. It's really a lot of fun. And people who don't realize, what self-striping sock yarn is, I think that's part of the fascination. They were wondering how the heck I was getting all these different colors and all the stripes coming out that way. So that was really funny at the car dealership. So that is my first project that I got most of my knitting time on this week, or this past couple of weeks, I guess it's been. The next project that I have been getting a little bit done on is my endless cardigan. Again, a silver shed bag by Anne Brodie's, a nice huge bag, perfect for this large project. I've been working on this, if you've been here before, forever, it seems. But I'm enjoying making it. I'm not in any rush to get it done. I want it done properly rather than rushing for a certain deadline. And because of that, I'm glad that Sarah over at Fiber Trek is running her Shackleton Epic Craft Along, because it's something that isn't a rush for projects that you feel are very challenging to you. And so because Shackleton was an Antarctic explorer and had an epic journey, that's why it's called the Shackleton Craft Along. So if you're interested in that, I'll put a link in the show notes to Fiber Trek, and you can see what it's all about. It's great watching her episodes because she often puts in little bits of history about his adventure and images, and she reads from the, I guess, diary of Shackleton on, what they were encountering, at what point they're at. It was over 100 years. I think it was 1914 that this happened. So it's very interesting. So not only is it great to see everybody's projects and everything, but it's wonderful to also learn history while you're doing it. So definitely this is my epic project. And I am using Wensleydale Sheep Shop long wool yarn for this. This is my 6th ball of 10, so I'll be starting on number 7 very, very soon. And I love this teal color. And I knew I wanted to make a cardigan that had some cable work in it. And I looked at a few patterns, and I really like this Roosevelt cardigan because it has the very neat pockets on it, and the cables going both up the arms and up the front of it. So like I say, it seems like I've been working on this forever. If you've been here before, you're probably sick and tired of hearing about it. But it's coming along, so I'm very, very pleased with it so far. I got the sleeves done eons ago, and in this last couple of weeks I only picked this up once or twice, so I didn't get a whole lot done, but It's the kind of project that I need to do while I'm sitting and concentrating and marking off exactly where I am, because there are two kinds of cables. I want to make sure that I don't make a mistake. That's one of the front pockets that I just have pinned in place for now. Later on that will be stitched together, but it's easier to show you when it's kind of pinned up. So there's the pocket, chest full of cables, and then the cables run up both sides of the cardigan in the front. It's the other front. And so it's really coming along. I have to stop doing the charts that I'm working on in another inch or two. And then I will start with the neck shaping and attaching the sleeves. So this is a bottom-up cardigan, and the back is just straight stockinette. But like I say, I have to really concentrate on, there's multiple charts to use for the cable work. So I'm taking it slowly but surely to get that done. So yeah, I'm pleased with that. I got a couple of inches done. Doesn't look like a lot when you just show it from the needles down, but it's fairly wide. So yeah, it was probably a couple of hours work. It's a nice Friday night, Saturday night project to watch podcasts, and it was neat. I was watching Sarah's podcast about the Shackleton along while I was working on my Shackleton project, so that was really neat. And thank you, Sarah, so much. Also, she gave me a very sweet shout out for my podcast, so thank you very much. I really adore watching yours, and was really very surprised to hear my name come up in your podcast. So that was great. So that's project number 2 that I've been working on, knitting wise at least, this last little while. And the third project you may think is a cat in here because it's another cat bag. This again is one from Deb at Fondant Fiber. But it isn't, not yet. Now, if you've been here before, you've known that I had full intentions of making 3 toy cats for the toy knit-along that was held between October and December. But I only got 2 of the 3 done. And Ancient Arts Yarns was so wonderful to provide yarn support for the cats that I was making, and also providing prizes for the CAL. So thank you again, all the people at Ancient Arts Yarns, and for all the sponsors who sponsored that CAL. That was so much fun. I really miss seeing all the toys and showing them to you in the episode. So I had full intentions after Christmas, even though the toy CAL was over, to finish up the 3rd and final cat in my series, and that was going to be Tawny, my ragdoll. And Ancient Arts was very kind to actually even dye up a custom colorway for Tawny based on pictures that I sent them of her. But I haven't yet. I've gotten just barely started, so it's not even worth showing to you yet. I did do Dakota the black cat and Sheba our gray tabby. But when I started working on Tawny, I had it set aside, and I thought there was something that I wanted to do before I spent more time working on another toy. And that is because over the last few weeks it has gotten quite cold. We had an unseasonably warm November and December, but come January we've had many nights where it's minus 38. So when I'm walking to work between the parkade and work in the mornings, I realized that I've never knitted myself a hat. And I've knitted hubby one, and I've done them for gifts and that kind of thing, but I haven't knit one up for myself. So I thought, what kind of hat design would I like that will keep me warm? And I really didn't want to make one that was really tight, like a beanie style that would squish down my hair too much. And it reminded me of a scarf/hood style hat that hubby got me many years ago. What it was almost like a scarf that was knit up in the center a little bit to create a hood, and then the long ends on either side you wrap around like a scarf. And I thought that was really nice because it was a nice loose hood on the front and kept my hair in place, but it didn't squish it all down out of shape. So I was looking on Ravelry for some patterns that were similar to that, and I came across a few patterns, and the one that I chose I'll share with you here. And what I ended up doing is mashing up two different patterns and also creating part of it myself. So what I started out with was this Drops Design Sweet Winter Hat. And if you're on Ravelry, it's a free pattern. I will link to it, of course. Well, it's on my project page. If you go to my project page, which I'll have linked, you'll see it there. But the thing that I liked about this pattern, there was one thing I liked and one thing I didn't like. What I liked was this front part that was like a hood. It was very loose and it came down long. But I don't think I'll do pom-poms there. That's where I'm going to do the scarves that I can wrap around my neck. The thing I didn't like about it is the top. I don't like that pointed top. The way they do decreases and it kind of goes up into a point. I don't think so. I was thinking maybe I'll put a tassel on the end and, make it like curve down, like fold over. But I think what I'm going to try to do is just sew it so that it's more like a hoodie rather than going up into a point. So at least this gave me a starting point on what to do. And then the other pattern that I saw that I really liked was because I wanted to also do color work. This one has some color work in it, but I thought I would just do my own design in that regard. And this other pattern is the one I saw. It's called Laura and the Wolf. And I'm sorry, it's a dark image. Maybe I'll put an image in here so you can see it in color. This is a pattern, let's see, by Julia Billings, and it is inspired by a book by Laura Ingalls Wilder, and it's about her adventure of an encounter with a wolf. So in the design, in the color work for Laura and the Wolf hat, there are some wolf designs in there. So what I thought I would do is I would take that idea and make my own design of a wolf, kind of change it up a little bit and incorporate it on the front of this hat. So that's what I did. I guess I'll show you here. They have a diagram for their design, and what I did was I decided I would just do a wolf head. So I just kind of drew it in, I graphed it out, and made a few changes because you don't want to carry your colors too far. So I wanted to make sure that I made it so that one color wasn't being left with really long strands in between their stitches. So far, I'm not finished it yet, but I have got a good start on it. What I did was, once I decided on kind of the design that I wanted, I went to my stash and I remembered about a year ago to the day, I created another colorwork item. It was a teapot cozy for, I believe it was Tilly Trout's Ravelry group. She was having a cozy along. And so I designed this teapot cozy myself using some loops and threads undyed yarns. So here is the label for that, undyed wool. So it's 100% wool. It's loops and threads, and this one is called just brown. This one is gray, although it looks just light brown to me. This one is called natural, even lighter brown, and then cream, which I had the least of. So I thought I would design my wolf pattern and hat using up some yarn I already had in my stash, which was great. So I started with a fairly light one for the body of the hat, and it looks like I'll probably have to go back to Michael's and pick up at least another skein of this if I want to use this main color in the scarves, but I'll worry about that after work one day. I'll head over there. Actually, I think they're on sale this week, so I'll have to go and check and see if they have any. If not, I'll see about maybe doing a design down the scarves too, to use up what I have as well. But this is the body of the hat so far. Now it's knit flat because it is actually sewn up along the back. So I still got some knitting to do, but what I'd like to do is maybe decrease it a little bit here to make it rounded on the top and then sewn straight along the bottom so that I don't get that pointy hat part. But this will be the front where the garter edging is, and there's my wolf pattern. So and when I made the wolf pattern, I looked at it and I thought, those look like cats. But then I showed hubby and he says, oh, those are wolves. And I said, oh good, you saw that. A little bit harder to see. I'll put a picture in as well so you can see this better, to see between the contrast between the actual fur of the head and the nose and eyes and ears. Maybe, if I ever did this again, I would use a lighter color for the main fur of the animal so that the eyes and nose popped out a little more. But I'm happy with it. I'm kind of just doing it on the fly as I go. So my color work on the back isn't, of course, it's always a mess. But at least I made sure that I carried those threads over not less than 2 stitches not more than 2 stitches, so that I wouldn't have any that were like really pulling out a lot. So obviously I'll have to block it and everything as well. But what's nice about the color work is it makes it extra thick, so it'll be even warmer. So far I'm pretty pleased with it. I think it'll be kind of a cool kind of hoodie slash scarf slash hat. So yeah, I think it's a fun project to do. I really enjoy doing color work and kind of designing my own. So as you saw with my TARDIS socks and that teapot, it's a lot of fun. So yeah, I thought that it was more important to get this done first, and then I'll get back to making that final toy. Since there's no deadline or anything for it, I'll get Tawny done in the next little while. So in the meantime, at least I'll be able to use this once it is done, because I'm sure it's going to be cold for the next couple of months. So that's basically all the knitting that I've worked on in the last couple of weeks. The other things that I was working on were some spinning and some dyeing. So I'll just show you quickly the spinning that I was doing. Now, months and months ago, I had started a project for a spinning cal or spin along, and I was like totally didn't get finished. I hardly got started, as a matter of fact, but I really love the fiber, and I wanted to get back to it and get this braid done. Let's see, it is over here. So this is on my Turkish spindle. This is half the braid that I've finally completed. What I did was I wanted to split the braid in half so that I can make a 2-ply yarn. So what I did was I weighed out the braid and then split it into 2 so that I'd hopefully have fairly equal amounts of plies before I put them together into a 2-ply. So that's this beautiful braid that I got at one of the fiber festivals. It might have been at the Carberry one last spring, and this is from Generations Fiberworks. It's 100% merino, and it is 3.8 ounces, or was. As I said, this is half, so I really love the beautiful pops of yellow in this green, and I thought it'd be great if I could get this done in the next month or so. I'd really love to do a project for St. Patrick's Day, so I thought this would be a perfect green color for St. Patty's Day. So I love my Turkish spindle. And the last little while I've been really on the lookout for hopefully one day getting myself a spinning wheel. I really love spinning my own yarn, but for now, with the Canadian dollar being so bad, it's about almost like $1.50 American. It's $1. Last time I saw the exchange was $1.42, which makes a big difference when you're, buying something online, especially something as expensive as a spinning wheel. So I have to be patient, and hopefully when the dollar improves, I'll be able to order myself a spinning wheel. I'm also got my name in at Wolseley Wool in case somebody is selling one secondhand, and that would be fine too. And I've been looking on Kijiji and things like that. So keep my eye out. So maybe one day I'll actually have a spinning wheel, but in the meantime, I've been loving using my Turkish spindle, and at least now that's half, I can take that off, and then I'll have a cop that's one of the plies, get the second one done, and then I'll be able to ply them together to make up some yarn, and hopefully maybe a knitted project for March. So having a lot of fun. That's a wonderful, relaxing thing to do, especially after work. There was a few days now that everybody's back from holidays that it's been fairly busy catching up after the holidays. And so when I get home, sometimes I'd be even just too tired to even pick up knitting, and I would just do some spinning, and it was wonderful just to sit and watch podcasts and just do this mindlessly. So that was a lot of fun. So yeah, having a lot of fun getting back to spinning again. Okay, so the next thing that I wanted to share with you today is some items that arrived in the mail, and also some shopping that I did. So let's see. Get my basket of goodies here. Okay, the first thing that I did was, I mentioned on the last episode, for Christmas, hubby gave me a gift certificate for Wolseley Wool. So of course, daughter and I had to head over there, and I picked up a few things using my gift certificate. One of the things that I really wanted to get for quite a long time was some more Carbons needles. Now, I've got just the 2 pairs of 1.5, size 1.5 needles for making socks. And the reason why I started out with Carbons in that size is I love my Dreams needles. Those are the wooden needles by Knitter's Pride. Those are the ones that I started knitting with when we went to Wolseley Wool and took some knitting lessons, and I found they were very, very nice for my style of knitting. I like the warmth of the wood. They weren't too sharp, and I really like the smoothness of them. They were very quiet as well, rather than the clacking of metal needles. So I collected quite a few sizes of the Dreams needles, and they're beautiful, and I love using them. Except when you get down to the very smallest sizes, like the 1.5s, they're almost like toothpicks because they're wood. They're really not that strong. So unfortunately, I had an incident where I was carrying my knitting in a knitting bag. I also had my shoes in another bag, and I'd put both bags into a larger bag, thrown them into my car. Get where this is going. Going home from work one day, and I realized when I got home from work, my shoes, I guess, had hit the knitting needles, even though they were in different bags, and broke one of the 1.5s, and so they were just so easily broken. I thought Carbons in the smallest sizes would be good ones to start out with. But again, because the Canadian dollar is doing so badly against the US, for me to order more online right now, where it wasn't really too feasible. So when we went to Wolseley Wool, they still had some of these sets. And this is the interchangeable starter set with the smallest size. So it's US sizes 2.5, 3, 4, 5, and 6. And it comes with 2 cords, the 24-inch and the 32-inch. And I really like knitting with the 40-inch cord. So I also got a spare. It was only like $3 for the spare cable, so that's great. I'm probably going to end up getting a few more of these. I'd rather have a longer cable than one that is too short. But I've really been loving working on these, and it was great that they didn't include the size of carbons that I had already had. So I started, I've got one of my projects, I guess I'm using the smallest, the 2.5, but the other ones are sitting here, and you get all of the parts to change the cable length, and also they have markers so that you can hang on them to identify what size they are as well. So I thought I would start at least with this set, and then if I want to go up to the next set that have the larger sizes, I can do that. It was basically the same price. I could have gotten one whole set of all of them, but it was basically the same price to get them individually. So I thought I'd start with these ones at least. So hubby, with my gift certificate from hubby, he's the one that bought me these for Christmas. So I'm very pleased to finally have some more carbons. I really love using them. They're also very warm on the hands. They're not too sharp. I find that some of the high sharps, for example, my style of knitting, I'm always poking myself, so I gave one pair that I had to my daughter, and she loves using those. So she knits in a completely different way than I do. So I really love my Dreams and my carbons. And also Stephanie at Stitchcraft Marketing, when she was sending me some things for the Toy Cal, also sent me some needles to try out. And I'm going to do that in an upcoming episode as well. I'll go into more of what I use and do a bit of a review on those as well. But for now, that was nice to use my gift certificate on a little something that I've wanted for a while. Also, while we were at Wolseley Wool, I picked up something that I have yet to try, and that's some Madelinetosh. And I found this beautiful gray. It's got little flecks of mauves and blues in it as well. It's very, very pretty. It is called Fallen Cloud, and it's the Tosh Merino Light. It's fingering weight, 420 yards. So this is 100% superwash merino. So soft. And I know so many people just rave about Madelinetosh and Tosh Light that I really wanted to try this. And at Wolseley Wool, they had some unicorn tails. So I wanted to try some of these out as well. So what I did was I got some colors I thought would go well with the larger skein, and that way I could do a project with this as the base and maybe some of these with it. So the first sets, let's see, this one's called Charcoal. I got 3 unicorn tails of the charcoal, which goes very nice with the Fallen Cloud. And I got a couple of, let's see, this one's called Silver Fox. Those are beautiful. And again, it goes with it as well. Or I might just use the unicorn tails together. I don't know. We'll see. Those two go together as well very nicely. So I might do that. And then the last two, I only had 2 of. I would have gotten more of these. This is Worn Denim, it's called. Really, really pretty with the blues and greens in there. And again, that would make a really nice color to go with a Fallen Cloud as well. So I'll decide what I'm going to make with these, but I'm really excited to have some Madelinetosh in my stash. So that was fun to go and treat ourselves to a few new yarns over at Wolseley Wool. The other things that I've acquired this week, a box arrived on my porch the other day. It was a very nice surprise from dear Sarah at Punkin's Patch blog. She's in a Ravelry group called My Favorite Sheep. And Sarah is the owner of a farm down in Kentucky that has about 35 sheep, some horses and dogs and cats and chickens, of course. But I've been following her blog for many years, and she's the one responsible for introducing me to Ravelry. And so she's responsible for me actually getting into knitting. because I was following her blog quite a bit. She talks so much about her sheep and, about the shearing, and she spins and, makes beautiful, beautiful items out of her own sheep's wool, that it got me very interested. And when the Ravelinics were on a couple of years back, that's when I joined her group and joined Ravelry and fell down the rabbit hole of knitting, then spinning, and now dyeing and sewing and all kinds of things that I couldn't be happier about. So thank you so much, Sarah, for getting me involved in this wonderful world. So recently I visited her blog, and she had a few things that she had for sale to help support her farm. And I thought, I'm probably really late to the party because some of the items had been on her site for a while, and I thought maybe they were sold out. So I inquired to see if there was still some, and she said yes, there were. And sure enough, a few days later, there they were sitting on my doorstep. So the first is a great 2016 calendar of lamb camp. And it's just the most adorable pictures. Sarah takes the most beautiful photographs of her sheep, and also sheep from other farms as well. And every year they have what's called lamb camp. And I would highly recommend, if you would like the most adorable calendar, this one's going in my room downstairs where I have all my dyeing supplies and my dyeing station. I'm just thrilled to have this. So it's so beautiful. I'd highly recommend it. Go to her blog. I will link her blog in my show notes. And her farm is called Equinox Farm. And every year, they put out calendars, and some are lamb camp, some are just calendars from other parts of her farm. But I'm so thrilled to have the lamb camp calendar. And in the package also was a wonderful mug I always wanted to get. Sarah also does wonderful artwork, and these are what she calls mug shots of her sheep, some of her sheep. Now, Sarah is always involved in something in her community, and a couple of things that she does is Hug a Sheep Day, and she also goes to May Fiber festivals and that kind of thing. And when she brings her sheep to these festivals, she creates little posters for their pens so that people know, the sheep's name and what their breed is and that kind of thing, interesting information. And she draws an image of the sheep for this poster, and she called them mug shots. You can see she even has their measurements on there. So I guess what perfect thing to have all these mug shots, but on a mug. So I'm so excited to have my very own my favorite sheep mug shots mug of my very own. So thank you, Sarah. That's awesome. And she says here, for the last several years, I've created individual mug shots to identify sheep on display at local fiber festivals and sheep looking for hugs at our farm's National Hug a Sheep Day party. I believe the last one was on October 31st. I'm not sure why mug shots came to mind when I was looking for a way to present them, but it fits the characters perfectly. Your Equinox Farm mug is top shelf, dishwasher safe, and can be used in the microwave as well. So I thought that was just wonderful. Sarah, thank you so much. I really love it. It's so cute. She has, the most beautiful, she's drawn Christmas cards every year and everything. You've got to take a look at her site. If you like wool and sheep and that, I highly recommend you heading over to Punkin's Patch. It's just a wonderful, wonderful site, and they're wonderful people over there. The other thing I was so very excited about getting is 5 skeins of lamb camp wool. Isn't this beautiful? I don't know if I'm going to make something just out of it, just bare, or if I dare dye it. I'm not sure yet. I haven't decided. But this is just incredibly squishy soft. I'm just so excited to have it. 5 skeins came. And it says here, this yarn was grown on Final Frontier Farm in Paris, Kentucky, one of my favorite lamb camp destinations. Expertly cared for throughout the year, the mamas are gently sheared a few weeks before lambing. The wool that kept them warm all winter is now ready to keep you warm as well. So each skein of worsted weight wool is approximately 195 yards and 3.5 ounces. Always hand wash, of course. But isn't that incredible? So lucky to have this. So if you're in mind of buying some locally grown and loved wool, make sure that you head over to Sarah's site, because I would highly recommend. It's just so incredibly soft and wonderful, and I have to make something very special out of this because it's a very special person that it came from. Thank you, Sarah. I know a lot of Sarahs. It seems like there's a lot of Sarahs in the knitting world. Okay, so that is it for what arrived. The last thing I wanted to share with you was my own adventures last weekend in dyeing. So let me just move those into view here. Move a few things around. Now, when my daughter and I took some yarn dyeing classes last fall at the Manitoba Fiber Festival, I knew as soon as we had finished that I want to continue dyeing at home. So what I did was, as soon as I got home, I ordered one of the manufacturer's dyes that we used during our classes, and that was these Landscapes acid dyes from Australia. And luckily or unluckily for them, the Australian dollar is doing about the same as the Canadian dollar, so it was great being able to purchase these online. And they came just a few weeks later. I ordered 8 of the colors to get me started: black, brown, and primaries mostly, and of course turquoise and teal, because I knew I'd be using a lot of those, being my favorite colors. So last weekend I finally got all set up and had the time to start my own dyeing. So what I do is I have a room downstairs that used to be my craft room when daughter was still in this room upstairs, and because I can shut the door down there and get out of the way of everybody, I can mix my acid dyes safely down there and then bring them upstairs to actually do the dyeing on our stovetop. So I bring up everything in this tub, and I use this tub to soak my dyes and to wash them out afterward. So because they're acid dyes, daughter and I both use the 3M respirator masks while we're using the dyes in the powder form. Once they're mixed in with water, then you don't need your masks, but that's the model that we use, as well as our rubber gloves. And I also went on Amazon and just recently ordered, it should be here next week, extra long gloves, so that when you're putting your hands in long water, you're not going to get them in the cuff of your gloves. These ones I just got from the dollar store. So, but always use our gloves and our masks while we're handling the dyes in the powder form. Now, I have to say that thanks to Nicole at Hue Loco, and also Jinx Yarns, Laura over at Dyers Notebook, and also Andy at Andre Sue Knits. All of them have tutorials for dyeing, and I've been watching them over and over again, getting the supplies they recommend and getting everything all set up before I started. And also all 3 of their tutorials are just wonderful. I'm hoping Laura does another one soon. Her first tutorial was very involved in the safety aspect of it, so she has yet to really get into too much of the dyeing. Some of her older episodes do show a bit of her dyeing, but I'm looking forward to more of hers. But Andre Sue has about 3 or 4 of them out, and Nicole at Hue Loco has 3 out as well. So thank you all, ladies, for sharing all of your experience and knowledge on this project, because it was hard before that to find something on YouTube that wasn't dyeing with either Kool-Aid or maybe food coloring. I really wanted to do the acid dyes to try those out. So Nicole at Hue Loco recommended, they all recommend, well, I guess Laura at Jinx Yarns, Dyers Notebook, and Nicole at Hue Loco both recommended using citric acid rather than vinegar for their soaking of the yarns and adding to the pot when putting the dyes in, and it really works wonderfully, and you don't have the smell of vinegar as well. This is just what's left over in the bag. What I did was I transferred most of this bag into 2 Tupperware containers, one for daughter, one for me, that we can easily scoop the stuff out. And also, speaking of daughter and sharing, I went over to her place and we spent a little while transferring some of the dyes with our masks on into containers for her. So she's all set up with all of her own supplies that she can do in her home and I can do in mine. So, so those are the 2 main things that I got. I also set us both up with a few items from the dollar store. Some of these great dispensers. I think they were with the picnic stuff, you know, for barbecuing and that kind of thing. So I got a whole bunch of these, and I've marked mine actually with the color of the dye that I've been mixing in them. I'll have a few for when I mix colors as well, but that way I can keep them from contaminating each other back and forth. So like for $1 each, these are great to mix your dyes in. And once the powder is mixed in with the water in here, then I was able to bring it upstairs, not have to worry about the dyes or the cats getting in, you know, into them or anything like that. So this was great to use. Let's see. And then of course, I got for Christmas this soak, and this has been wonderful for cleaning out the yarns after I've dyed them. I'm really surprised how well the citric acid and the acid dyes have been working, because very, very little comes out at the end. So it's really been working out really well. I'm not getting a bleeding out of what I've done so far. So that's been great, and it makes the yarn smell so nice. So what I did was last weekend, I thought I would use, I got a whole, like about a dozen skeins of this Cascade 220, and they had this on sale at Webb's, and it was cheaper because they consider this like undyed wool, but it's a darker color than a lot of people like. But I thought, being, you know, the cheapest, it would be a good thing to start with. But I must say, once it's dyed, I mean, you can't tell that it's a darker ecru color rather than pure white. I do have some other yarns that I got from Knit Picks, the Felici and Imagination and Bear and all of that, that I'll be moving towards. But I thought to start out with, I would start with 4 skeins of this Cascade 220. So last weekend, I did 2 on Saturday and 2 on Sunday, and I'll show you how those turned out. This is my first one that I got done. What I wanted to do was something with reds and yellows and see if they kind of merge into oranges and maybe do something almost fire-like. But I love the way this turned out instead. It's funny how you kind of have an idea in your head what you're going to do, and how it turns out is totally different, but maybe even better. So I was really thrilled. This was my very first attempt at yarn dyeing. So this I did in a pot on my stove with not very much water at all. Started out with the red and the yellow. The yellow didn't seem too saturated, so I ended up putting my mask back on and sprinkling a little bit of yellow dye on top to get the more intense yellow colors in here. And then I also sprinkled just a little bit of black. So I'm really thrilled with this. And when it dried, it really reminded me of Gryffindor's colors. So I must have been channeling my inner Harry Potter lover, because the red and the yellow together really reminded me of Harry Potter. So what I think this is the only one I've named so far, and I'm calling this Harry's House. And yeah, I'm really thrilled with this, and I'm eager to see how this will look knit up. I'll also put a picture in of all 4 skeins that I dyed, because it'll be a lot better to see than on the video, I'm sure. But I'm really pleased the way this first one came out, and it was really so cool to see that it went from just the plain to something very special. The next one that I did that day was, of course, in blues and greens. So I did use my, I think it was Sky and Fern in the Landscapes dyes, and I made this. And again, using not very much water in the pot, because I really wanted some of it not to be dyed. So that's where I got the pops of white in there as well. But I'm thrilled the way this turned out. really, really like that. Of course, I like anything that's blue and green, so yeah, I really like the way that ended up going. And the other thing that I saw online is a video, I think it was on their Flickr account for Hedgehog Fibers. The lady there showed how she winds her skeins, and what she does is she hangs a hook on the wall. Well, she's got it like permanently on the wall, big, thick hook. She flips the yarn over and smooths it out and then winds it up and then flips it and puts it through. So when I was at the dollar store, I found coat hooks that you just hook over the top of your doors. So I bought one and I just fold it out when I want to use it and throw the yarn on, and boy, it makes it so easy to wind the skeins with. So that was really cool. I'll link that video in the show notes as well. It was neat to see her winding her yarn that way. This was the third one that I did. This was on Sunday. I got out the teal and turquoise colors in the Landscapes dyes, and I made this softer gradient color with a little bit of blues in there as well. So yeah, looking forward to making something out of that. And these are, you know, heavier wools, so you know, maybe some mitts this might end up being. I'll see. Or maybe a scarf or something. And then the last one I tried last Sunday, I don't have a ball band for, but I was throwing out the ball bands, and then I thought, why am I doing that? I can just wrap it around them again. But one I guess I had already thrown away. But this one is greens, the fern green and the wallaby brown. And I really love this. And how I got the whites in this skein is before I put it in the water, after I soaked it, I tied 2 knots in the skein and then put it in the pot, and that made a really nice white areas that didn't get dyed at all. So I'm just thrilled with how that turned out. So there are my first 4 attempts at yarn dyeing, and it is so much fun. I could hardly wait to do some more. Next weekend, being a non-podcast weekend, I'm going to end up doing some more, I believe. So there they are, my first 4. And I'm looking forward to trying different yarns as well, because all I've done so far is the Cascade 220. And it was so funny. I showed Valeria a sneak peek of my yarns, and she was very kind. And she said the one thing that, you know, I really needed to do was to take off those ball bands and make my own. And I just made Valeria. Maybe the next episode I'll design my own ball bands with Victorian Studio on them. And that way I can write down the information right on there. I've been keeping notes as I've been doing my yarn dyeing, just on scraps of paper. I'm going to have to get myself a notebook and keep my recipes and maybe some images. What I did was I'll put in here as well some pictures of the yarn in the pot while they were dyeing as well, and I thought I should, you know, keep a record of what it looked like in the pot and then what it looks like on the skein, so I can learn from each time from doing it. So I think that's all I have to share with you this week. I'll be recording again in 2 weeks, because next weekend I'll be dyeing up again, I'm sure. And so that means I'll be recording again on Sunday, January the 31st. So the episode should be up on February the 1st. So until then, I'll leave you with a few little videos or pictures at the end here. I hope you have a wonderful couple of weeks crafting, and I look forward to visiting with you again in the Victorian studio. Thank you, everyone. Bye-bye.